right. Let's do Facebook now. Hopefully it works this time. Seven Spears of Money page. Boom. Going live. Okay, just gonna put in the title and description for the YouTube video real quick. I mean the Facebook video real quick.
I'm gonna use my other laptop next time. I think the lighting is more to do with the low grade camera that I have in this old laptop.
Yeah.
It's my go-to laptop of 6 years, so I have to retire the baby.
Yep.
Gonna have to put her down, unfortunately. Oh man, that is good.
Haha.
Delicioso. We sent out to all our audiences, let them know about today's show.
I didn't get a chance to. All right, so we are going live on Facebook. Now let me just grab the links and reshare those. All right, so we are going live on Facebook. Let me just grab the links, reshare those. All right, just sent you the YouTube link. I'm just going to share it to my Facebook, so my friends know I'm live. Sent you the YouTube link. Just going to share it to my Facebook, so my friends know I'm live.
We're live on YouTube.
Yep, YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, I love it.
All right. All right, so everything's up and running. I think we're ready to set this thing off.
All right, let's do it.
All right, and get a sip real quick before I go in. All right. Welcome to episode 2 of Nick's Knowledge and Notions in Cube Science Series, presented by DJ the Money Coach and brought to you by the Seven Spheres of Money, the Ransburg International. I'm Nick. I'm your host. This is my show, of course. You see it in there in the title. And yes, this is episode 2. And as always, I'm backed up by my man DJ the Money Coach. Here to provide the beauty, but not only the beauty, but to provide the financial perspective, his data and dollars. I had to do the D&D right there. DJ's data and dollars to Nick's knowledge and notions. That perspective. All right, so DJ, what's going on? We had a busy, productive day today. So I'm feeling pretty good and excited about the day we had. How you feeling today?
Hey, man, I'm excited, man. Forget about productive, dude. We knocked it out the park, brother. You hit a grand slam the whole week. And those who are tuned into the show right now, they're going to find out, man, that the 7 spheres of money ain't no joke. Like Eric B. and Rakim, you say, I ain't no joke. Let the whatever. Yeah. But you get my point of view.
Oh, yeah. I used to let the mic smoke. Got the mic right here. About to get it cooking.
That's right.
So yeah, it was definitely.
We on the third rail, baby. Electric.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm glad to be here on episode 2. So hey, man, let's bring, the power, baby.
Oh yeah. It's Friday. Yep, it's Friday evening. Yeah, like you said, we did have we knocked it out the park this week. We got some incredible things lined up and coming down the pipeline. So if you're paying attention, you see it coming. If you don't see it coming, it's gonna come like a thief in the night. Just stay tuned. So this is my knowledge and notions in Cube Science series. So I'm not necessarily talking about biology, chemistry, or physics, but I am talking about the science of life, the science of all things that run through my mental and are manifested in the physical. So that's the science series. So last week I dealt with, staying on your purpose in the midst of calamity, chaos, and craziness, with everything that's going on in the world between, a global pandemic, racial injustice, murder hornets, UFOs, and whatever else, food shortage, coin shortage, whatever else is going on in the world right now. So last week I spoke about staying on your purpose, with everything going on. Tonight, I'll be talking about my experiences with this science called numerology. I know there's a few people out there that might have heard of it. I know it's not as popular as the other more popular occult science, which would be astrology. Everyone is talking about their zodiac signs, their sun sign. A few more people might know their moon sign and their rising sign. So I will be referencing astrology as a point, for those who may not be familiar or never heard of numerology. They're very similar. They serve similar purposes in terms of, denoting a person's traits, desires, personality, talents, and things of that nature. So I'll start off with the definition of numerology, which is the occult or symbolic meaning of numbers. And I'll give my backstory of how I first got exposed to it and where I currently am with it, my takeaways from it. And of course, this is DJ the Money Coach in the 7 Spheres of Money. So I have my man DJ here to come with a financial perspective, when it comes to these occult sciences. And yeah, that's what we're dealing with tonight. So I first got exposed to numerology back in 2014, I believe. It was either 2013 or 2014. I graduated from college. I relocated back to New Jersey, but to northern New Jersey in Newark. So I was just stone throws away from New York City. So I went to an event in Brooklyn, and I didn't go for the numerology aspect of it. I saw an artist named Narubi Selah was presenting there. I saw her perform a few months earlier at the Million Hoodie rally in Harlem. And, she gave an intense performance. I'm like, yeah, I want to check her out again and see what she's talking about. So I went to this event in Brooklyn. It was held at a black bookstore called Nicholas Brooklyn. And Narubi ended up not coming because I believe she had to move that day. But there was also a brother named Joshua Sarah there who gave a presentation on sacred geometry and supreme mathematics. And the host of the event, King Simon, he gave a talk on numerology and disaster preparedness. So he was kind of linking those two ideas together and talking about some of the characteristics of people born on certain times of the day. I mean, certain days of the month. And besides the accuracy of those interpretations, I was also surprised to find that there were many successful people, working in business and industries who use these sciences to time decisions. I think you mentioned Walt Disney, had an astrologer. I researched that. I really couldn't find much information on that, but that was something that he mentioned. But with further research, I found that there were individuals in high places, using these sciences, such as, J.P. Morgan and a couple other folks, some politicians and some people working in government. So that's something that made me really curious, because when I was in high school, my 10th grade biology teacher said, astrology was pseudoscience. So I pretty much held to that belief, from the time that I was in high school, pretty much up until a few years ago, in my early to mid 20s. So I decided to do a little bit more research on it, go on YouTube, look up some more videos with King Simon, since he was the one that was mainly talking about the numerology. I also discovered his teacher, Lloyd Strayhorn, on YouTube also. And, come to find out, this guy, he's been all over the place, talking about numerology in terms of platforms, CBS News, the Oprah show. I hear him on the radio sometimes on WBLS, a radio station in New York City. So I'm like, and this guy's been doing it for a long time too. So I'm like, this is interesting. This guy gets invited to all these platforms to speak about numerology. So there must be something to this. So I decided to get a consultation with, I got my first, actually before I got my consultation, I purchased Lloyd's first book, Numbers in You, which I have right here. This is the old edition of it, the 1987 edition of it. There's an updated cover. And I also purchased King Simon's book, Numbers are Simple, People Are Complicated. So I got my first consultation maybe a few years later. So I first got introduced to numerology in 2014, and then I got the books and had my first consultation with King Simon in 2016, I believe. So that was an hour-long consultation in which he laid out my name. Of course, each letter in the alphabet is associated with a number. So he looked at the numbers in my name, looking at my full name, looking at my first name, the first letter in my first name. It becomes really intricate. There's a lot of things that you can look at just with the name. He also looked at my birthday and told me things about my health, about relationships, about my traits, about careers and things of that nature. So that I found that to be a pretty accurate, representation some of the recommendations that he gave me, I didn't follow through with at that time, and now I see myself a few years later, actually, answering some of those callings, which I'll mention. God, I had that slide up there. Yeah, you can see both of our faces now. Yeah, I was just going on the door. I didn't realize that, but yeah, now you can see. Like I said, DJ is there for the beauty. All you gotta do is just listen to me. but yeah, so I had that consultation for an hour, going over those things. I went through the book, practicing myself, and then I was also sharing it with some of my friends and doing their numbers, and they're like, wow, this is really accurate. So I'm like, yeah, so there must be something to this. So life started catching up, work started catching up. I got pretty busy with those things. So I kind of fell off with my numerology study a bit, here and there. I was going back, referencing a few things and watching a few videos when they came up, but it wasn't until recently, within the last month, that I actually revisited the numerology on a more consistent basis. I took an online course with Lloyd Strayhorn. It was a short course, hour and a half, but it was really thorough, and it helped me to kind of refresh on some of those skills, and also helped me to start memorizing the meanings of the numbers. And I also purchased the rest of his books. He has a workbook, which is pretty much aligned with the online course. He has a relationship book. He has a numbers book for the 21st century. So I went back and purchased the rest of those books. I practiced with friends and family, the same way that I did when I was first exposed to it. And I was pretty much getting the same responses and the same results. So that's where I'm at with it now. So I say all of that to say that my notions, so that was the knowledge part of it, my experiences and what I learned, or what I found out that numerology could show you about yourself. It shows you traits about you, your inner self, your inner needs, inner desires, maybe career inclinations, and things like that. It's not a fortune telling piece, so it doesn't predict your future. It just makes you more aware of things about yourself if you don't know, or if you aren't paying attention to yourself. So that's why I discovered about numerology, and I just kind of leave it at that. And I feel that other occult sciences, such as astrology, such as tarot, palmistry, things of that nature, they all serve a similar purpose. And it's not to say that these sciences emphasize that traits or your personality is fixed. Is kind of highlighting the traits about you that may be more inherent or more natural, while other traits that may be absent or maybe challenges or weaknesses for you, those are areas that you might want to work on or strengthen. It's almost like the growth mindset, fixed mindset type of dichotomy. So you highlight your strengths, and you work on your weaknesses, work on improving your weaknesses. So I say all that to say that it's not a substitute for the work, for hard work and doing the work, working on yourselves. It's not one of those type of things. Oh, it's just the way I am, so that's a justification for me being this way. That's not what I take away from it. You use it as a guide to help you maneuver in your life. So I went on for a while giving the backdrop and the backstory. So I'll let DJ maybe give his insights in a general sense first, and then we'll get into the financial perspective of this thing.
Well, you know what, Nick, for this full disclosure, I have never studied numerology at all at any point in time in my life. nor have I ever studied astrology either. So I am always, curious. I have a curious mind, inquisitive to how it practically impacts anybody's life, and what's the empirical evidence that it actually works. Because a lot of times my small experience with people who talk about numerology is a lot of times have been people who've been wanting something for nothing. And I know that may not be the absolute case with people who are sincere practitioners, but the people who are consumers from the most standpoint that I've come across, pretty much looking for something for nothing. So I'd be interested to know. I read the article in Forbes that you sent to me, and I was surprised to find out, J.P. Morgan and a couple of very well accomplished financial advisors and institutions use this. But if you look at, what is it, astrology, and it's what's the other one that starts with A? I'm trying to think. The actual science, is it astrophysics?
Astronomy.
Astronomy. I'm sorry, astronomy. So from a scientific standpoint, I was starting to understand what they were talking about, the X patterns and the correlation between the stock market, between the recession, between 2008 to 2014, also between the time when Black Monday happened in 1987 in October. So I kind of intrigued me to, see how that lined up, and made me want to go back and look at those period of times where these certified astrologists actually said between these time frames that the markets were going to go down. We were going to have a recession when the euro, which first came out in 1999, was going to be, lagging the US dollar. So I think it's very interesting. I think I want to find out a little bit more. But I would like to know, when you were talking to your friends and you were talking to your associates, what exactly were you doing in terms of giving them actual quantifiable information that they can actually go back and track and look at it from a scientific standpoint? I'm more interested to see what that came about, and what were the manifestations of that.
To be honest, there isn't any. In my perspective, there really isn't any quantifiable or scientific measurement for it. I'll have to do some more research to see where it started, but apparently these practices are thousands and thousands of years old. So I'm not even sure where the meanings in the in the definitions of the numbers and like the plant and the meanings behind the planets actually comes from. It's just kind of, it's almost like rather than being a scientific perspective, it comes from more of a spiritual or even a religious type of perspective. It's like more something that people feel, and more of what people feel and believe rather than what they're able to actually tangibly measure, if that makes sense.
Okay. So in that regard, we all well know that when somebody gives you an idea and you start to believe it, you start to develop your life around that particular idea. And this is some of the things when, I've been to magic shows and stuff like that, where they start to hypnotize people. And the first thing about successful, hypnotism is that I have to believe the concept first and foremost. Because if I don't believe the concept, you can't hypnotize me. So if I don't believe the concept of how numerology works, it may not work for me personally. And I look at it this way, where it's kind of like the rhythm method when it comes to having, personal relations between a man and a woman. And if they're trying to, procreate, and they want to have a certain time frame of the month that they think they're most, optimized in order to, be most fertile, some people use what's called the rhythm method. And so what I kind of equate this is to kind of the rhythm method, that when they take these numbers, and when I've seen people do it, like I said, I have no experience and no in-depth knowledge to how numerology works. But it always seems that when I've seen people talk about it briefly, they add numbers together, and always the number equates to what's going on. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, how can I debunk what you're saying if I don't know that this part of it is an empirical science that I can crunch like numbers? Like, for instance, I know 5 times 5 is 25. You know, I know, three, square root of 3 is 981. You know, so I know that, and I can reverse engineer it. So how do I reverse engineer numerology? Because a lot of people make a lot of money on numerology. A lot of people make money off of palm reading, and I equate it to, gypsies. And not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but it's always been a nomadic type of experience in my estimation. But again, I can't dispute people who have used it at a higher level. But what I can dispute is that those people that is shown in the Forbes article, they actually had concrete science that was definitive and provable on how they actually made money in the market. Because we can actually do what's called tactical investing, and also we can look at those numbers in technical investing, and we can crunch and show how stock markets go up, how they go down. We can tell when big institutions flood the market and how it increased the valuation. We can tell when things like 9/11 happen, where the market crashes. Those seminal moments can show you a direct correlation to how the market will be impacted. I mean, that I can quantify. The numerological thing, I cannot. So if a numerologist told me that, in the next 30 days, the S&P is going to go up by 300 points, and they can tell me the exact date and the time it happens, and it happens, then I'm going to buy into it, a little bit. And then I'm going to say, okay, if that's the case, just like looking at a crystal ball, can you tell me when I'm going to, die? And can you tell me, all these other things? And again, I'm not saying it is not real, but I'm saying I have my, honest doubts about how it works. And I need to see quantifiable evidence that it consistently works, because when I created my success in business, I was able to tell you if I wanted to sell one product in the market, I had to put it in front of, let's say, 100 people. I put in front of 100 people, Nick. I had to put in front of 100 of the right people who actually were interested in the product. And then of those 100 people that were interested in the product, I had to make sure that the product was affordable, that they have odds to buy it. And then so now to get beyond that, which is now 3 generations, first put it in the market, make sure they're interested, now make it affordable. So that's 3 generations. Now the fourth one that actually helps me close the sale is that what evidence can I compellingly convince them that I'm convinced that the product works and it will help them right now. And now once I did that, I got 4 iterations, or we'll call it, 400%. So if I close one of those people, I'm 25% successful, 1 out of 4, or 1 out of 4, which is 25%. So I can take those numbers and I can say every, 4 people that I put this product in front of, that they are affordable, they're interested in it, and I can convince them that this is the product and it can help them, I'll close 25% of those people. So now I can extrapolate that to 100, and that means that every 100 people, if all the variables are conducive to me closing these people, 25 of them will buy. And that becomes an exact science if and only if they're qualified, they're looking, I got the right product, and it fills their needs. So I can reverse engineer that, and 25% success ratio, which in any business is major success. Now, how do I take that and park numerology alongside of it and say, hey, I can prove to you that you can be successful just by counting these numbers and attaching them together without the other variables to make it conducive for my success? How do I do that? I'd be interested to know that.
Yeah. Those are good points and good questions. I mean, just based on my studies so far, like I said, I'm still in the beginning stages. Based on my studies so far, I'm not sure if it works quite the same way as financial astrology or astrological economists or economy or however it was called in the article. From what I've gotten from my study in numerology so far, I'm only seeing how it deals with yourself in terms of your traits and your personality and things of that nature. So it might teach you some of the soft skills that you might need to learn or focus on in order to be successful, but it may not predict specific numbers or when you should time certain investments or certain decisions as far as that goes. So for an example, I'm a teacher. That's something I've been doing for a few years, but when I had my consultation, the numerologist saw in my birth number and also my life path number, which is my birth month, birth year, and birthday added up all together, that I should be starting a business. I should be an entrepreneur, because there's money connected to all of that. So that was something that was kind of in the back of my head back in 2016, but I was, I guess I was comfortable with where I was, or really didn't know if I were to become an entrepreneur and start a business. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I kind of put that, on the back burner and didn't really think about it. But, a few years later now, I'm working with you on the startup of DJ the Money Coach, and I'm incorporated now. So I ended up cycling back to that conversation of learning that the number 8, which is my life path, is associated with authority and leadership and wealth and business. And that's more, like I said, more of those soft skills and discovering things about your personality and about your traits or maybe your family traits. That's what I've gotten so far from my learning. Like I said, I'm still new to this. I've only been looking at it for a couple years now. That would be something to ask one of the more professional and experienced people who've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years.
Okay, so with that said, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. However, God's advocate. what I'm interested in knowing. So you had the consultation in 2016?
Yeah, around that time. Yeah.
Okay, so that consultation told you that you should be an entrepreneur because you have leadership skills and you're disciplined. So when you got to this point, which is 4 years later, why would that not have triggered you doing it sooner than later? And what was the other scenario that helped make it conducive for you to get out of your comfort zone to pursue, entrepreneurism? But how do you really tie it back into that consultation? Because here's what I look at with consultation. So, we just had a consultation earlier today, right? And that consultation, when I get a consultation and I'm investing money in it, I'm looking for immediate results. I'm looking for immediate direction to get me on the pathway, accomplishing immediate goals. I'm not necessarily looking for planting of seeds down the road when I'm paying for consultations, if that makes sense. So in my estimation, if I take a consultation like that and it didn't trigger something for me or give me a roadmap that I could follow in the immediate 30, 60, 90 days, then maybe for me, it would just more been for an entertainment value. And now some people might, say, I'm boohoo and stuff like that. But no, I'm not doing that. But I'm looking at, if you can tell me, just like if I went to go sit down with a psychiatrist to actually take care of mental health, and I'm looking for, remedies right now, I'm looking for you to subscribe to me something that I can follow and do immediately. And yeah, you may be telling me I have potential to accomplish some things down the road, but I want to invest where I can get immediate results. So how do you tie those together 4 years apart? Because that's a long time. I mean, in dog years, that's almost half a lifetime.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't know what type of business I wanted to go into. I didn't really have any, like I said, not like I said, but it wasn't a business consultation. It was a numerology consultation. So that person that did the consultation wasn't able to assist me with figuring out what type of business I should run or the steps towards doing that. So that was pretty much on me to either seek out someone who was able to do that, or to, I guess, hold myself to the fire to really lock in and figure out how to do that. So that was mostly on me for not following up and following through with figuring that out.
So were they identifying that you just had the characteristics and the attributes that you could one day be an entrepreneur?
Correct. Yeah. Or I should be doing it. I should be doing it already if I'm not doing it.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So if we live now in a digital world, we're doing a digital broadcast right now, and most people right now that are in your age group, they are more independent than ever before. And they're not following the traditional track of education, of business, or anything, matter of fact. Because they're pioneering and they're navigating their own, autonomy nowadays, which is awesome. So what that leads to me is that, you know what? I can do anything that I want to do, and business happens to be one of those things, because what is the number one person in your age group don't want to do anymore? They don't want to work for anybody. They don't want to spend 12 years getting an education to start making money. They want to make money right now. So how does numerology fit in that box when everybody, I would say, on this planet right now, if they had an opportunity to work for themselves, they probably would, because they want to own their own enterprise, and it's all about personal branding right now. Everybody is doing something in any shape, size, or form. It's all about my brand, which that's something that you didn't even hear about on a regular basis is short as 5-7 years ago, unless it was a major star. But nowadays, you hop on YouTube, Facebook, IG, Snapchat, TikTok. Every person has a brand because they're trying to sell and monetize something, which is exciting. But that makes everybody a potential entrepreneur, and that makes everybody a person has attributes and characteristics that can become, business people. So I cannot align that with numerology from that regard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So when I was in Vegas, I think about when was the Pacquiao Mayweather fight? 2015 Cinco de Mayo. I was in Vegas, and there was a palm reader, and people go up and they get the palms read, and they read the lines in your hands, and they tell you this is fertility, longevity, and money. And we're just playing around. I said, well, tell me exactly when I'm gonna make my next $1 million, and tell me exactly what industry am I gonna pursue to make my $1 million. Person couldn't tell me. So
I can't. Yeah, I don't know much about palmistry, so I don't know if that's the purpose of it or.
Right. Yeah. So here's my point. I would not have been able to told you today that we would be doing this show, but what I would have been able to tell you in 2006, 2007, since I put a business together called the 7 Spheres of Money, and I had a business team that was in your age group, that we would have came back to the table and used the most modern technology to make our life easier, more efficient, and make our business more effective. And that's what this is. So in a sense, I could have probably told you, hey man, from 2007, 2010, I can bet you in 2020, I'll be doing something in the digital world. And I can tell you that for one reason, because I read this book called The Roaring 2000s by Denton, D-E-N-T-O-N. And in that book, Nick, it actually gave a statistical study of the early 20s, which is when the stock market, collapsed in the major recession. But they showed the patterns before that of how the economy was booming from the First World War I, how people were coming back to the United States, new technologies were created that brought the middle America together and created what they call the biggest economy ever, which is the baby boomers. And then it said, in the future, here's what's going to happen. with technology is that everybody in the rural community is going to gravitate back into the city. And then those people from the city are going to do a reverse migration out to the rural areas. And because technology will be easier to connect, you can now be an external or exurb person. So I took that information, Nick, statistically that was proven in the roaring 20s, and took it along with the roaring 2000s. And I started to take a 5-mile radius of the inner city of Chicago that was defunct and business in certain areas that used to be owned by the titans of business, the owner of Montgomery Ward's, the owner of Sears, that had left the community back in the 50s, and it became a Black community, and a little bit of it was Hispanic community. It was along the lakefront, and it was destitute for 3-4 decades. But based on that study that was proven, I was able to create a cleaning business, understood that technology was growing when the cell phone became more less expensive to use. So a lot of more people can get the service, and now it went to what's called S-curve economics, okay? So in the S-curve economics, it talks about what's called an early adoption phase, where people who have a lot of money and people are trying to push technology to the forefront, just like they're trying to go to Mars now. It said those people can afford to create the technology, and then super wealthy people who want to have things before anybody else, they start using it. And when they start using it like celebrities, they make it cool. And then people like you and I start looking at it and say, hey, man, we can buy that. And then as they create a little more, it becomes affordable. And then there's what's called, mass acceleration from 10% to 40%, where now everything becomes affordable and everybody starts using it. So I took that information and I circled that 5-mile radius from the south side of Chicago to the South Loop, which is the entry part of downtown, which again was more populated by Black people, some Hispanics, some Polish people. And I said, you know what? These people, the Sears people and the Montgomery Ward's people who moved out into the very super affluent suburbs, they're going to one day come back in this area and retake over this land because God's not making any more land on the lakefront. And sure enough, from 96 to 2002, there was re-gentrification of that area. They started pouring money back in the area. They redid Soldier Field, and people started buying condos and land, and the area became gentrified. And I started building my business on that premise. And I went from zero in 6 months of making hardly no money in the cleaning business to 12th month, start making 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a month in cleaning, because I was able to take that pattern, tie it into data that was real data from past history, and show that technology made things affordable, that people will reverse their migration and create a business of success. And I did that not only once, but I did it twice. When I took my business from Chicago, it was at the apex of success. I moved into another city in Texas that was behind the pattern. You know how trends are set from coast to coast? I was able to say, look, the Houston market is behind the Chicago market because Houston is a 4th largest city. Chicago is the 3rd largest city. So the trends go faster, like they go from New York to LA to Chicago, and set myself up in business, Nick, and did the same thing. I looked at the historical growth of the area. I looked at the cost of taxes, inflation in New York and California, and I figured out that the more taxes rose, the more inflation increased in New York and California, the more land was least expensive in Houston, that people would start coming here and doing reverse retirement because they can get more money, more house, more value for their dollar. And sure enough, from 2007 to 2010, I put the same model in the Houston suburban area, and I was able to duplicate it off of that one study of the roaring 2000s. So with all this elongated, stuff that I'm saying, show me how numerology can actually show me how to connect those dots that I would invest, like, JP Morgan did. But you have to understand, with JP Morgan, Walt Disney, they weren't investing in numerology when they were just getting out the gate. They could afford to throw some money at it. And I'll have to go back and look at the numerical and historical data to say when they got deeply involved. But it's like anything. When you have money that you can afford to, risk, and if you lose it, it doesn't upset your apple cart or change your lifestyle, then you can play with other things that are not quantifiable, but they may come true. because you have a learning curve and you can afford to take that calculated risk. If we're talking about the regular man and woman who may only have $1, may only have $50,000 to their name, and if they start investing their livelihood into this unproven, science or whatever you call numerology, what is, and don't get me wrong, I'm not down on numerology, but I'm just saying, if I'm going to put money into it, and it's going to tell me what my characteristics, my attributes are, that I can become a businessman, or I can become a successful singer, or I can be a successful basketball player. You better show me some quantifiable, empirical evidence that if I follow this template, like we were doing the consultation earlier, show me the template and show me the blueprint that anybody can have success at this, then you better prove that to me.
All right. So with that said, I'll move over to the last segment, which is dealing with the industry, because you referenced the industry of these occult sciences. So we're in the information age. Some people might call it the age of Aquarius, the information age, the technology age. So I would say more now than ever, we see more and more people becoming open or becoming interested in numerology, astrology, tarot reading, palmistry, and things of that nature. So it's becoming an industry now. It's becoming a business where like you said, people can actually, it's consumable. People can pay for consultations. They can go in Barnes and Nobles and buy a pack of tarot cards, or buy a numerology book or an astrology book. Like I said, they can pay for a consultation. They can learn it themselves and charge people for these services. So it's definitely growing, and I'm almost seeing it and equating it to the self-help industry. Because I read a book, or I listened to an audio book last year. It was called Sham, how the self-help industry is making Americans helpless, or something to that effect. And the author, he was I think his name was Jay Salerno or something like that. But he was pretty much breaking down how much money people were spending on books and CDs and seminars, to consume this self-help information. And it's almost like a revolving door. They keep, the consumers, they keep coming back for more. Like they'll buy a book, they'll come back and buy another book and buy another tape, or pay all this money to go see Tony Robbins or somebody like that. But they won't actually put the time in the work into their self-development to actually see the change or improvement in their life. So they just end up becoming perpetual consumers of self-help materials. And I can see the same thing happening or starting to happen with everything that we kind of label these days as a new age. That's the name that they have for it now. Yeah, the new age movement. So I can see the same thing kind of happening with that.
You know what? P.T. Barnum Bailey, Ringley Brothers. He said there's a fool born every day, every second. And we live in a world now that the elite and the poor are the only two classes that are going to exist when everything's said and done. Because the middle market in America specifically is being, absorbed through taxation, and they're being penalized every day. So when you're stuck in a situation where I think it's who was the guy that said, he said, by the time we're 25 years of age, most men and women, they're dead from the neck up, and they live a life of quiet desperation. And so when you live a life of quiet desperation, Nick, then you're open to anything to actually, pursue some type of dream that you've been projected upon you on a daily basis. Because again, we're in the digital world. What does that mean? That means that everywhere we go, you have stuff on the internet, you have stuff on the television, you have stuff on the radio, and it's telling you about this fantasy life that everybody can live. And God's no respecter of persons. So you believe that this stuff that you are being shown, which is a great lifestyle, that you can have it too. But see, what they're not telling you is 9 out of 10 times, there was a tremendous amount of work that had to be put into it in order for you even to have an opportunity to be successful. And then here's another thing they're not telling you is that life is not just. I mean, if you're born, in the White House, and I'm born, in a 1-bedroom apartment, likelihood you're going to have more success than I have because you're going to be constantly around people of wealth. And you can be 1/10 as talented, 1/10 as smart as I am, but the simple fact that you have access, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be more successful financially than I ever would. Now, that's not always the case. But when I start looking at, these situations and people want to feel good and they don't want the pain of building to get success, then anything you put on the table is an option. And that's why drugs, drinking, and stuff become attractive to people as well. Because, again, they don't want the pain. They don't want the dissatisfaction. And then some people just don't want to do the work at all. They want a lottery mentality. So New Ageism is not new. It's been around for 30 years. And telling people that you can feel good without a plan, it only works for a moment of time. But people that sell this stuff are so smart that they know it's a numbers game. That's when numerology actually can work, in my opinion, is that I know statistically the law of large numbers, and this comes to accounting, which is actuary, is that for every 1,000 people that I put in front of a business, a show, an event, if they have a certain class in terms of the economics, they have a certain social construct, and they have a certain hope, what they call hopamine, like they say on one of our friends' show, I can sell a lot of them on a lot of stuff all the time, anytime. But then also know there's people who are very jaunted and very discriminating that you got to prove everything to them plus something before they will even invest in anything. So most times what you find out is those people stay away from those very, discriminating people, and they feed in frenzy on the hopeless people who don't know any better. And thus that sprouts these new cottage industries where everybody gets in, and then somebody has some semblance of success and they say, hey man, what do you attribute your success to? Man, I went and got a reading, and the reading told me I was going to do this, and all of a sudden I accomplished the success. But then that person don't tell you, oh, you know what? I was grinding for 10,000 hours, putting that work in. And then I had got favor because one of my friends, my colleague, my instructor felt so good about me as a person that they introduced me to somebody at the right time in the right place. I had overnight success. So what I would challenge people to do is, hey man, if it makes you feel good and you understand that it's really about feeling good, but if you think it's going to give you long-term success in connecting these dots, I would challenge you to actually really, look at it a little bit, wiser, and show me, give me some guarantee. Because anytime I spend my money investing in anything, man, you got to give me some semblance of satisfaction or guarantee. You can't just let me go out there feeling good, because when you're in the ether at the highest point of excitement, guess what the next step is? It's the bottom. There's no middle floor. And when you leave from that person or persons and they tell you, hey man, I can't guarantee you nothing, you should have read the small print. And it's just like today when we're giving our consultation and he said, hey man, this is not refundable. I said, okay, yeah, it's not refundable. But if I don't understand what you're telling me, what I was looking for, guess what? It is refundable, because you know what? I have resources, and I can come back and say, you know what? Here's what I can prove to you that I did not understand, and it wasn't presented to me where I thought it was, and it wasn't what I thought I bought. So I do have repercussions, and I do have the ability to get restitution, if that makes sense. So again, hey man, here's the greatest thing about America and the greatest thing about the world. You can be whoever you want to, as long as it's legal, ethically, and morally sound. If you're not putting a gun to my head and I buy something, I can only hold you accountable for your success, and it can only hold you accountable for your failure. But a lot of times people want to give the success to these things, and then when they fail, they want to blame them. But at the end of the day, just like athletes who go broke, you were the one that didn't read the contract. You the one that wanted the quick, fast money. And usually those are the people that always lose. So again, I'm prefacing this not saying that there's anything wrong with numerology, but for me and my dollars, I'm probably not going to spend any money on it. But if I'm just going out to have a good time and I want to feel good and just be inquisitive about what they think they may know about me, I might throw some dollars at it for that regard. And I don't poo-poo anybody that does it seriously. And I don't poo-poo anybody that developed a profession and made a life out of it. But I will say, show me some quantifiable evidence mathematically that you can determine my success, or you can give me inspiration. And that's where you tie into the self-help. If the inspiration can get me so inspired that it's life-changing, that I go into a better way, then there's not enough money you can spend in those programs.
All right. So there you go. There's DJ's data and dollars perspective right there. The triple D effect. So my last point on the feel good idea is that for the people who are engaged in these activities and these practices, you always get two sides to it. There's always balance. You always get the positive and you always get the negative. So don't have selective hearing or selective reading and only pay attention to the positives, the things that make you feel good. Also pay attention to the areas of growth and the areas that you need to work on, as well. And then with that being said, remember these practices are only here to serve as a guide. They are no substitute for the hard work, the accountability, the self-discipline. They're no substitute for it. And like I said, you have to have a growth mindset. Just because you might have some characteristics about you that may not be inherent or natural to you, that doesn't give you the excuse to not strengthen those areas. So you have to do the work. And that's my final notion on that. So if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you like the video. If you're on Facebook, follow 7 Spheres of Money. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's the same thing as the Facebook, 7 Spheres of Money. Share the video with everybody so we can build this platform and get the word out. We're also on Instagram, 7 Spheres of Money. So make sure you follow us on Instagram. Make sure you go to the website, www.djthemoneycoach.com, and get on that email list. Put your information in there, put your email on there so you can get on the email list so you can stay connected. We'll be sending out information about when these interviews go out, when our webinars go out, and we have a new series, a new expert series that will be launching. It's about to be August tomorrow. So in August, we have a new series about the launch. So DJ, why don't you tell the people a little bit about the new series that we have and who's going to be featured on that?
Oh man, you know what, Nick? That's what we're really excited about. And let me say this as we wrap up on numerology. I'm agnostic to it. Okay, I don't have a fish for it. I don't have a fish against it. Okay, so let's make sure we put that all to rest. So with that said. But man, here's what, man, I'm telling you that we're really excited about is that we have the freedom to build platforms and build them with expertise and to help people out. Because at the end of the day, man, we're about helping people out. So in the 7 Spheres of Money platform, we have professionals. And when I say professionals, I'm talking about people who have 10, 15 years of proven high-end success, who have impacted millions of dollars of transactions on a daily, a monthly, and a yearly basis since 2002. And so what we're going to do, and what we're really excited about, Nick, we're going to bring these experts onto the platform that work in the bricks and mortar world that are becoming digitized. We're going to have our legal experts who are trademark and patent attorneys who are experts. And when I say experts, I mean these people work with BMI. These people work with McDonald's, the burger company, handling their major transactions. They're on our team. We're going to have accountants come onto the platform who have worked for Tyson Foods, who have worked for the state of Illinois Comptroller Department. You know, again, managing millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of dollars. So we're going to have those professionals come on and talk and take Q&A from the audience to talk about anything in that expert specialized industry. We're going to have financial planners come onto the platform who manage 20, 40, 30, $50 million portfolios. And they'll be able to talk to you at the level that you're at. If you make $1,000, you make $100,000, Nick, or if you make $1 million a year, they'll be able to tell you how to protect your money, grow your money, and pass it on from generation to generation, what's called succession planning, okay? We're also going to have mortgage bankers that have done hundreds of millions of dollars of transactions, literally. Come on to the platform. Again, each show, just like we're doing your show, you know, Nick's Knowledge and Notions, they're going to come on and talk about what's going on in the banking industry right now. Because here's what's going on right now in the banking industry. It's easy for anybody to get a refinance right now, anybody to get a first-time buyers program right now, anybody to buy a new house, to sell a new house. If you just have average credit right now, if you have a 620, 640 credit score and you make decent money, you can go out there and get a 3%, 3.5% interest rate. But here's what's not going to happen forever. This market is going to eventually change when the election comes and the COVID-19 is done. The market is going to go back to what it is, and it's going to be tougher for people in the middle market to do refinances, buy homes if they don't have great credit, 720, 780, 800 credit score. They don't have low debt to income ratios. So our mortgage bankers who've been doing banking for 17 years, and I've been a mortgage banker, owner of a mortgage banker company. And when the market was tight and there was hard to get, mortgages done, we were able to still get people mortgages done and teach them how to do them correctly. So we're going to have those people come onto the market. Okay. Then, Nick, we're going to have the credit expert, the number one credit expert, in my humble but accurate opinion, that actually have taught thousands of people how to take their credit from bad to extraordinarily great, that I came across about 5 years ago. And he wrote a book called The Conspiracy of Credit. He's going to come on the show and talk to anybody about their current credit situation, how to build real credit lines. He'll even show you how he took homeless people off the street and made their lives change and made them better for it. So we're going to have people like that coming onto the platform, Nick, that's going to totally separate us from everybody out there. So I know a lot of people don't know about us, haven't heard about us, but in the world outside of the internet, we've helped a lot of people become successful. So I'm excited to let people know that we're going to roll out this series of financial experts in the 7 spheres of money. And once a week, you're going to be able to hear from accountants, attorneys, bankers, financial planners, estate planners, real estate guys, insurance guys who are impacting millions of dollars of transactions on a day-to-day basis. And here's another important thing, Nick. These people have been through 3 catastrophic events in my lifetime: 2001, 2008 to 2012, and right now COVID-19, that has enabled us to continue to move forward. And they are seeing right now record growth in their revenues. And if you don't believe me, just pay attention to what technologies are being impacted and making the most money right now. Apple just had record growth of 4-to-1 stock split. Logitech, because we're using Logitech right now in our services, a 70% increase in their revenues. Zoom, 120% increase in their revenues, because they're in the digital world. And now that we've been confined and purposely doing social distancing so people don't get affected and get sick from, coronavirus, their stock revenues are going through the roof. And now a new norm is now going to come from this, where a lot of bricks and mortar businesses that don't need to have people to come to an office, Nick, they're going to be using those technologies for the remainder of the existence of this world. And those companies are going to continue to prosper. And guess what? Those early adopters are on our team, and they're going to bring that information to you on a weekly basis. And I would encourage you to get onto our site. I would encourage you to subscribe, share, and like. But I would encourage you to get the information, because you can talk to a lot of other people on this platform. They're making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on YouTube and Facebook. But when they have their catastrophic event, will they be able to recover? That's the key, because anybody can make money. But the trick to wealth is keeping the money. And that's what we're going to show you in the 7 Spheres of Money with DJ the Money Coach and Nick at the steering wheel. We're going to show you how to make the money, but most importantly, keep the money, and show you how to stay ahead and be prepared for the next catastrophic event, because there's always going to be another one, brother. As long as we living, there's going to be another catastrophic, game-changing situation that happens, that the person who's not prepared or don't know no better is going to be the one to get wiped out, and then new wealth is going to be created from that, because we have a transformational situation going where trillions of dollars are transferring hands over the next decade into new hands. Question is your net big enough to catch that money so that your life can be impacted by 3 generations? In the BK1, it says, a man who can't take care of his children and his children's children is less than an invalid. So I'm excited about that, man. And man, get excited, baby. So come ride the freedom train. Come get that pom lifestyle. Got assets, baby. Plenty of money, peace of mind, and travel with us on the Beaches of the World Club. And see us next Friday. Same back channel, same awesome host, Nick Westbrooks. And hey, man, enjoy life to the fullest. And yeah, you know what? This is an adult show. Have some libations too.
Hell yeah. Yeah, there it is, man. So if you can't get excited about that, then I don't know what you're gonna get excited about. So, you know, DJ he closed it out with the way we always close it out. So until next week, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Remember, 7 Spheres of Money on all social media platforms, and the website is djthemoneycoach.com. So make sure you get on that, and we'll see you next